Last episode I spoke of how the computer is really an extension of the television. It's the television involved, empowering people to do things that they never could have done before. We can create worlds of wonder. We can communicate with people on the other side of the world. But like any other tool, it can be a tool used for good or evil. Unfortunately, anything man touches in this world is eventually corrupted. It's just the reality of the sinful nature of man. So in this episode, I need to take a look at something that really freaks me out, because I'm neck deep in the swamp of digital doo-doo, but the truth shall set me free. And maybe it will set you free too. Sometimes, understanding the enemy can open your eyes in a whole new way. This episode, I want to take a look at Apple computers. Some of you might be thinking, what? But you love Apple computers, Chris. Yeah, it's true. I've been a loyal customer since I started buying computers. I remember when I was taking a graphic arts class back in the 90s, I found that I had a kinship with the Mac. To me, Windows was a knockoff of the Mac OS, and everything about it felt wrong. But with the Mac, from the inside out, it felt natural, easy, understandable. And I wasn't the only one. Apple had a bond with the creative minds of the world, and though our numbers were few, we were enough to keep Apple going until its stellar success with its iProducts. Here are a few facts that made me pause and think about the whole Apple legacy that seems to be a huge warning sign for those of us who follow Jesus. For instance, did you know Anton LaVey, founder of the Church of Satan, was a supporter and exclusive user of Apple computers? While this doesn't reflect on Apple directly, it's not exactly a gold star endorsement for the company. It should be noted that Apple did what it could to distance themselves from the Church of Satan, but it seems that was more of a PR move than a matter of denying Satan. Still, there may have been a logical reason for LaVey to be drawn to Apple Computer. Consider the fact that the very first Apple computers, introduced in July 1976, were sold at a price of $666.66. That number is kind of a magnet for the enemy. I also know that sounds like internet lore. It sounds like something somebody made up. But it's a fact confirmed by Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak. Listen to his reasoning for the number 666.66.
Because it's all one digit. To me, that was just an easier way to type. We didn't know what the number had religious significance. We found out.
He says they didn't know the religious significance of the number at the time, but one has to wonder how that could be, knowing that super genius Steve Jobs, the mastermind behind Apple computers, was raised a Lutheran. This isn't just a matter of Christian paranoia, but in the end, Wozniak explained it away, right? Maybe, and if this was all there was, I could probably find a way to dismiss the little mile marker started with their very first computer, but there's more. Many think that Apple was founded by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, but there was three men: Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne. And while I'm sure this is going to upset the liberals in today's world, that I would even bother to mention this, it must be noted that Wayne was a homosexual, and in fact, the first homosexual who Mr. Jobs ever met. Maybe that explains why the Apple logo was once colored as a rainbow. The official stated history of the logo goes something like this. The original logo depicts Isaac Newton sitting under a tree with an apple dangling above his head. The phrase on the outside border reads, "Newton, a mind forever voyaging through the strange seas of thought, alone." Interestingly enough, Newton is said to have believed in God, but he viewed worshipping Jesus as idolatry. About a year later, Mr. Jobs commissioned a graphic designer to come up with a new modernized logo. Supposedly, the bite in the Apple logo was to show people that it represented an apple, not a tomato, and the rainbow colors had no connection to the homosexual movement, but instead were supposed to humanize the company. Charming, isn't it? And in truth, that may have been exactly what Jobs was thinking. But there's another possibility that screams to any Christian who knows the Bible, and that is that the Apple logo represents the forbidden fruit that Satan conned Eve into eating, that Eve conned Adam into eating. But most dismiss this as Christian paranoia, right? It occurs to me that there may be a far more simple answer to this than the sinister plans of the enemy. I've read how Steve Jobs was a prankster as a kid. Knowing he left Christianity behind in rebellion against God for allowing suffering on earth, Steve might have just been playing with what he considered to be a false religion in a taunting manner. But even if he didn't understand what he was doing, that doesn't mean he wasn't being used by demonic forces, does it? Those who are being used by demons usually don't realize it, do they? Is it a coincidence that the Mac operating system is, in part, rooted in FreeBSD, an open source project that uses a cute little devil as its logo? This shouldn't be a cause for concern, should it? I mean, so what if there's a little devil inside the Macintosh computer, right? The biggest problem of all, however, might be the position Apple is taking in the pecking order of corporate control over people, or rather, control of information. Oh, they aren't the only player in the game. You've got Google and Facebook and Microsoft. But Apple has gone from zero to hero with their innovative design and their unbelievable profitability. They have gone from being a struggling joke in the tech industry to one of the most valuable companies in the world, and their innovations are getting a little scary. The commercials depicting the use of Siri are unsettling if you consider how the actors are interacting with the little voice-activated program. I feel as if we were looking at an Atari 2600 version of the personal assistant to come. Artificial intelligence, ready to aid us in any way possible, yet completely under the control of our big brother Apple computers. The same company that started with a 666 and a symbol for the fall of man, the same company that warned us of Big Brother in their classic 1984 commercial. And now that Steve Jobs has passed away, one has to wonder, who is behind the wheel for Apple? In Apple's defense, it's a super family-friendly company. Their products are easy to use, they don't allow porn in their app stores, they have complete control over their hardware specs, meaning consumers don't have to worry about third-rate products from cheaper manufacturers. It's all a wonderful package in these terms. In fact, it's almost too good to be true, isn't it? Yeah, I know. Many of you will think me certifiably insane, yet we know technology is jumping by leaps and bounds. We know that the day is coming when interacting with a computer will be completely cerebral. Computers will be part of our very being. And someone's going to control the programming behind that. If you thought The Matrix was sci-fi, just wait another decade or two. If you asked somebody 20 years ago to predict who this Big Brother company might be, Microsoft most likely would have been their answer. And if someone stated Apple as their answer, they likely would have been ridiculed. Still, here we are. Could I be wrong? Surely. But someone is going to rise up and play the role of Big Brother at some point. And make no mistake, I believe Satan has been waiting for the day when our technology can seemingly mimic the power of God, knowing everything there is to know about everyone. To me, at this point, Apple just seems like the most likely suspect. Of course, there's more to the story, tidbits that may or may not point to demonic ties for Apple computers. This video is hardly an exhaustive look at the issue and the players involved, but there's no way I could sort it all out, and even if I could, there's no way I could possibly explain it all in a YouTube series, could I? This is just one of those things I've been thinking when it comes to demons and this crazy little magic box of ours. Well, until next time, happy Jesus Day. God bless, and peace out.
But we do have one more thing today. One more thing. It's a pretty big thing.
Are you aware of the Steve Jobs connection to Disney through Pixar? Yeah, Disney, the beloved company that has given America and the world so much joy and entertainment to the children and the young at heart. Are you aware of the demonic forces that have been behind Disney since its inception? The Satanic Network runs deeply through American entertainment. For more information, be sure to check out the next episode of Legion TV when we take a hard look at Disney.